Hello, comrades, and welcome back to Ushanka Show. Здравствуйте, дорогие товарищи. I'm your host, John Wayne Cheeseburger. Please enjoy the show. But before we start, I would like to ask you a small favor. If you're one of those awesome comrades that purchased my book, American Diaries 1995, and I sold about 500 copies, more or less, please don't forget to go on Amazon.com and post your review. I have only 61 reviews right now, so with 500 copies sold, 61 is kind of a weak number. And now we return to regular broadcasting. Welcome back to the Ushanka Show. So today, as we usually do on this channel, we're going to talk about life in the Soviet Union, and we're going to analyze this black and white photo taken in Murmansk, Soviet Russia. What we see here is probably the happiest day in the life of any Soviet family. It's the moving day. So let's analyze this picture in depth, because surprisingly you can find out a lot just from this photo if you carefully look at the items that your eye can catch. Some time ago I already posted that picture on YouTube community page, and most people noticed the truck. What you're looking at is a Soviet-made ZIL 157K 6x6 truck, which was off-road version of ZIL 157. The sweet-looking truck ZIL 157 was manufactured for 33 years, from 1958 till 1991, with around 800,000 vehicles produced. Some of you guys may notice that this Soviet beast looks somewhat familiar. That's because the designers of ZIL 157 and its previous model ZIL 151 were inspired by Lend-Lease provide Studebaker US-6 and some other American trucks. Soviet ZIL was powered by gasoline engine, which was quite impressive. Had 6 cylinders and produced 104 horsepower output, and it had also 6-speed manual transmission, that's including the reverse. There were quite a few modifications of the ZIL 157. Most of them were done for the military, but of course it also had some civilian use. Soviet Army used this truck mostly as a troop carrier as well as the cargo truck. It was also used extensively as the rocket launcher, as well as we call it ракетный миномет, so it's like a rocket mortar vehicle. Of course, as pretty much any truck, it was used as a tow truck, including towing jets. You could also see ZIL trucks pulling behind the real missiles at the parades on the Moscow Red Square. It was also used as a semi-truck to pull different types of semi-trailers, even off-road, using its 6x6 option. This truck was also converted in different types of the fire trucks, and I already mentioned this factory by Priluki, Ukraine. That recent video we talked about Priluki and at the factory when they worked on a ZIL 157 tournament of fire trucks. We had ZIL 157 cranes, and we had ZIL 157 excavators. But the coolest modification I think was made was a ZIL railroad snowplow. I think that thing looks awesome. And as I mentioned earlier, around 800,000 of these trucks were produced in 33 years, so there's still plenty of those rusting around, and now it's kind of a cool thing. Some people who have money in Russia, they convert the ZIL 157 into the pickup truck. I want to apologize for this little detour. Just wanted to talk a little bit about this truck, and now let's go back to the main picture, the main topic, life in the Soviet Union, moving day in Murmansk, Soviet Russia. When I posted this picture on my YouTube community page, quite a few viewers commented they were surprised that there were private businesses in Soviet Union, like this moving company that came to move folks from barracks into the new apartment. Silly comrades. Of course, it was totally illegal to own a truck like that privately back in the Soviet days. And actually, it was quite easy to determine if the car or a truck, well, definitely you know the truck will never be private owned, but you can determine if the vehicle is private owned, state owned, or some organization owned, or military vehicle. So it's like in that song, all it takes is just one look. I don't know if I'm singing it correctly. So all you need to do is have a one look at the license plate and it will tell you, is it private, is it military, or is just some company. So let's take a close look at the license plate of this truck, and you will be amazed how much information you can get just from that license plate. So let's see what we got here. 6433 MUM, 6433 MYM, but in Russian of course we say MUM. First of all, Watson, the first conclusion we can make that this truck was registered in Murmansk, because MU or MY, that meant that truck belongs to the Murmansk town. And because the license plate first shows 4 numbers, then 3 letters, that means this vehicle is state-owned, government-owned, not private. License plates for the private vehicles, usually only cars, would look a little bit different. First to be a letter, then 4-digit number, then remaining 2 letters. And license plates on the military vehicles will have only 2 letters after the numbers. Oh my goodness, Sherlock! This is so amazing! You can find out so much from these license plates!
Shut up, Watson. We're not done yet.
So let's take a look again at the truck's license plate. This is actually new style license plate, white plate, black letters, which was introduced around 1980. Old style license plates were smaller in size, had a black background with white letters. So knowing all this information about Soviet license plates, we can conclude with certainty that this picture was taken sometimes in the early 80s. I'll bet 1982, 83, 85, somewhere there. Also, let's take a look at the buildings in the far background. The low apartment building, it's a 5-story high, so-called Khrushchevka. So those are cheap apartment buildings were constructed mostly during the Khrushchev time. So we're talking 1960s and early 70s. Later, in the late 70s, early 80s, most apartment buildings were constructed in Soviet Union were 9-story high and even 16-story high. So that's the other tall apartment buildings. Those are 9-story high. But of course, the most striking element of this picture is the building that people are moving out from. This is so-called barak, or in English would be the barracks, 2-story barrack building, constructed probably in 1930s or 1940s, like really old wooden building in a very sad shape. The Soviet barracks had no indoor plumbing, so there would be outhouses outside, running water maybe in one spot in a communal kitchen, and there would be just a bunch of rooms that family lived, and then quite often they had their own little metal stove to keep it warm in the winter. And of course, the only modern convenience, there'll be electricity. And as you see on the picture, this barrack is a quite poor shape. There's no walkways around, no pavement, just dirt, mud, and piles of snow. So here's your reality of the Soviet free housing. Who knows how long these poor people had to live in such horrible conditions in barrack. 20 years, 30 years, but they finally had their chance to move out and get a tiny apartment. And of course, the main benefit of a modern apartment versus the barrack that's going to have indoor plumbing and running hot and cold water. And then of course, since we didn't have moving companies, you had to find on your own someone to help you with moving. So, or you ask some guy who works as a driver, or maybe at work they will let you borrow a truck and a driver so you can move your belongings, because definitely you could tell it's not a moving truck. For example, when my family purchased so-called cooperative apartment in the early 80s, we moved with the bus, like literally the passenger bus that my dad knew a guy who was a driver. That's where we put our belongings, our furniture, our stuff, and we moved using a bus. That was so weird. Anyway, well, I hope guys you enjoyed this Sherlock Holmes style investigation of the Soviet Happiest Day photo. As always, don't forget to put like, share with your friends, and we'll talk to you soon. До свидания. Goodbye. Hey, by the way, cool merch for cool comrades is available at the Ushanka store at teespring.com. Just a friendly reminder that my book American Diaries is available on amazon.com, or shoot me an email if you would like to have a signed copy. Thank you! And if you love my channel and would like to show your support, please click on the link below this video and become the patron of the Ushanka Show. For as little as $1, you can help us grow and create the new, interesting videos about the life in Soviet